Welcome back. It is time for us to take the long path, or the main path, or the hard path, depending on who you ask, which will take us to the best possible ending and give us the full score at the end of the game, which we didn't manage last time because you can't. You can complete the short path with considerably less points than what I did, though, because I did a couple of things that are really only necessary for the long path, but that you have to do before this point. Otherwise you don't get the chance. And I did a couple of things that are entirely optional. Anyway, now we need to do what the Oracle told us, which is bring 2 souls back from the dead. Which...
Old lamps for new! Old lamps for new!
Yes, thank you for that. Which shouldn't be too hard. Oh wait, actually, it should be. It doesn't really sound like something that's quite easy to do. But the Oracle did give us some advice in that regard, namely that we should search advice from the Druids, but they weren't particularly friendly to us last time we went there. And actually, if you go back to the Isle of the Mists now, the Druids will immediately capture you. You cannot go back there again. So we need some way to either avoid getting captured, or some way to escape that fire. Now it just so happens that in the spellbook we have a spell to make rain, which is activated by heat. So therefore seems to fit what we need for the fire there, because hopefully this rain will be fierce enough to put out the fire, although it would have to be considerably fierce, but well, the spell incantation does call it a tempest, so who knows. For that we need a couple of ingredients. We already have the vial of sacred water, but we do need salt water not from the sea and falling water. Salt water not from the sea can be found on the Isle of Wonder. So let's go there once again.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Now you might wonder what here can provide us with the salt water. And you just need to think about what kind of sources there are of salt water other than the sea. One thing you may know, or I would at least expect you to know, is that tears are in fact salt. And the Isle of Wonder has some baby's tears. Of course, those are plants, sort of shaped like babies, but perhaps they can provide us with actual tears. The problem is, how do we get them to cry? Well, they are babies, and we have a bottle of milk. And babies like milk, don't they? Let's see what happens if we try to give it to them. By the way, I had a thought about chessboard land today. It's actually really appropriate that chessboard land is ruled by the 2 rival queens, rather than the kings. Because after all, the queen is the most powerful and most versatile piece, not the king.
Alexander gives one of the baby's tears a bottle of milk. The other baby's tears seem to resent Alexander's gift for some reason.
They feel left out, but this is actually a good thing for us.
Alexander collects some of the baby's tears in the old hunter's lamp.
We're using the hunter's lamp as a makeshift teapot. This is really annoying, so I'm going to leave the screen. And now that we have the salt water not from the sea, we can also add the vial of sacred water to our makeshift teapot.
Alexander pours the contents of the oracle's vial into the hunter's lamp with the baby's tears. The vial, now empty of its sacred fluid, disintegrates.
That's peculiar. Are vials supposed to do that? Well, maybe vials of sacred water are. I don't know. I don't really have any. While we're here, there's another spell ingredient that we can pick up. Not for this spell. But for the magic paint spell, we need a teacup of swamp ooze. And we have a teacup found on the chair in the garden earlier. And there's a swamp here, which I guess would be a convenient place to find swamp ooze. So that is pretty simple.
What do you think you're doing?
What?
You startled me. I was just getting some swamp ooze.
Well, you certainly won't get it there! That's not swamp ooze! That's swamp slime!
There's a difference?
He's right, you know. But he could be a little nicer about telling you. He's not a very pleasant stick in the mud.
Nobody asked you! Be quiet!
Oh, the trials of being a mere bump on a log.
Well, he's quite a rude stick in the mud, it seems. But he seems to be an expert on swamp matter, so maybe he can tell us where we can find some swamp ooze.
Perhaps you could toss me some swamp ooze, since you seem to be able to recognize it. I can only reach this bit by the path.
Well, hoity-toity, look who's Mr. Wants So Much! You think I got a job here passing around precious swamp matter? You should be so lucky!
He's an utter waste of oxygen. I'd save my breath if I were you.
Seems we have run into the middle of a feud between this stick in the mud and this bump on the log. And unfortunately, Stick in the Mud is being true to his name, and he doesn't want to give us any swamp ooze, which is quite annoying. For some reason, these always remind me of the stickmen in The Longest Journey, even though they do not have similar personalities. Let's see if bump on a log is perhaps more helpful.
Who are you?
I'm Bump on a Log, and that's my brother, Stick in the Mud. We've had this thing about each other ever since our childhood. Mom always liked me best.
She did not! That is absolutely not true!
He's a bit lazy, you see. He's got the only swamp ooze in the swamp right next to him. But do you think he'd move a finger to help you get some? Hardly. He'd try to brain you with it more than likely. His temper's about the only thing that ever gets a workout, and that on yours truly.
Oh, like you've moved at all in the last century! Like you're Mr. Physical Activity!
Just because I can't reach anything, he thinks he can throw gushy swamp matter at me and just say whatever he likes. If only I could turn the tables on that heckler, he might learn some respect. But as you can see, I am a mere bump on a log and must be content with my lot.
Oh, shut up! You couldn't hit the broadside of a barn even if you had something to throw! Just shut up!
You see how he is?
Well, that puts us in a bit of a bind, because we do need swamp ooze, but apparently the only swamp ooze around is right next to Stick in the Mud, and we can't reach it. We saw before what happens if you try to walk into the swamp. So that's really not an option. What else can we try? Seems that these two have some unresolved issues, and that apparently Stick in the Mud likes throwing stuff at Bump on the Log, which is a bit unfair because Bump on the Log has nothing to throw back.
The log itself has
Is there anything I can do to make peace between you two? You are brothers, after all.
He needs a good thrashing, I expect. However, since you cannot go into the swamp, nor can I fight back, he will simply have to be born. Such is the life of a bump on a log.
What can we do? I agree, though, that Stick in the Mud needs a good thrashing, but how can we oblige Bump on a Log in that regard? Well, what do you use when you want to throw something at someone? You use a rotten tomato. I guess a spoiled egg could also work. Never actually tried that. I know you need spoiled egg for something else, but let's try that.
Would you have any interest in this, Stick in the Mud?
Get out of here! What makes you think I'd want anything of yours?
I guess not.
Would you be interested in this, Bump on a Log?
No, thank you. I have need for little. Unless it would be something to throw at my brother to teach him a lesson. Oh, but I don't think that would be quite appropriate.
Apparently the game designers did not think of using the egg as throwing material, even though I think that would be quite logical. Rotten tomato, however, is a different matter. However, if you have Roger, we're not playing Space Quest. If you have Alexander try to throw Rotten Tomato, it doesn't really work well.
Why would Alexander want to just throw Rotten Tomato into the swamp?
See? We have to let Bump on a Log do it, but we'll do so in the next video.